Hey, what's going on guys? Luis here, and Apple made a pretty interesting announcement a couple of days ago at their Spring Forward event. At the event we were expecting to see the Apple Watch, which we definitely saw, and we were also expecting a brand new version of the MacBook Air with a Retina display. But instead Apple announced a totally random product out of the blue, and they called it the new MacBook. It's essentially this new laptop that is super thin and super light, but it does also have that Retina display that we were expecting. There's been a huge amount of controversy around this new MacBook because it does have a few flaws that people have been pointing out consistently, like the lack of ports or the fact that it doesn't have a good enough processor for the price. But we'll get a little bit more into that in this video. So unfortunately we did not get that new Retina MacBook Air that we were expecting, but maybe this new MacBook is a good alternative for those who are looking for a thin and portable laptop. So without any further ado, here's my first impressions on the new MacBook and whether or not you should buy it. So like I mentioned, this laptop is really sleek. It only weighs 2 pounds and comes in at 0.71 inches in terms of thickness. So with these kind of dimensions, you're getting a laptop that is really portable and also really easy to carry around. Now undeniably, this laptop looks great. It has an aluminum brush design all around the entire body of the laptop that makes it look really premium. And yeah, Apple has done a great job with the new MacBook here in terms of how it looks. But when you have such a thin and light laptop, you do have to make a few sacrifices, and in this case you don't have the glowing Apple logo anymore. You only get the reflective Apple logo that you see on the iPhone and on the iPad, which is fine. It doesn't look bad at all, but I did personally like the glowing Apple logo just because it looked pretty cool, but yeah, you don't have that anymore, unfortunately. You also don't have very many ports on this laptop. You only have one port, which is USB Type-C. Now I could explain in detail what USB 3.1 Type-C really means, but actually Marques Brownlee did a phenomenal job explaining everything, and I'll leave a link to his video down below in case you want to learn a little bit more about that. But basically what that means for you is that if you want to plug in anything that is USB, whether it's a mouse or a webcam, you're gonna have to buy an adapter, which can cost up to $80. That's actually one of the things that people were talking a lot about this laptop, is that you will have to spend a little bit more money if you want to plug in anything that's USB, just because the laptop is too thin, which really is just a shame. Now for the display, we're looking at a 12-inch IPS LED display with a resolution of 2304 by 1440p, which makes it a Retina display, and it's looking to be a very color accurate display with great saturation and viewing angles. And yeah, overall it's a great screen size at 12 inches, and I'm really happy about the screen. It's actually one of the few things that I really like about this laptop. So the new MacBook has a 1.1 GHz dual-core Intel Core processor, which is actually a mobile processor, and that was one of the things that people were complaining a lot about, is that the performance doesn't really match up with the price. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yeah, with that kind of performance, I wouldn't expect to do any kind of video editing at all or any kind of photoshopping in here. It's more meant for basic web browsing and looking at documents and things like that. You're also getting 8 gigs of RAM, which is pretty good, but only getting Intel HD 5300 graphics, which are not very powerful. So if you're planning on buying this laptop for something that is graphic intensive, this might not be the best option for you. But if you absolutely need the most power out of this laptop, you can also upgrade it to a higher end model which has a 1.3 GHz dual core processor and the same amount of RAM. You also get PCI Express SSDs in here, which is really nice. You get either a 256 GB SSD for the base model or a 512 GB SSD if you decide to upgrade to the higher end model. Something else that I didn't really like and other people were really upset about too is that Apple included a 480p camera on the MacBook, and this is by no means a good quality camera. It's not even 720p, and with that resolution you're not going to get a very clear picture when you're making Skype calls or using FaceTime on the new MacBook. You would have thought that with such a high price tag, Apple could have included at least a 720p camera. But yeah, they decided to cheap out on this one again as well, and it's one of the least favorable features of the MacBook. Moving on, the keyboard is a full-size keyboard and now has a new technology that Apple says will make it a better typing experience, and the trackpad now has the Force Touch technology, which is aimed at having better precision and also having things like multi-touch gestures. And to be honest, this might be the most compelling feature out of the entire laptop. Something else that is really interesting is that the new MacBook is so thin that it is basically fanless. It doesn't have any fans at all, and also has these super thin battery sheets all across the board that make up the battery life of the laptop, which is, by the way, expected to be over 9 hours of use. For the operating system, you're going to get OS X Yosemite, so if you've used it before, you're going to feel right at home here. And the new MacBook comes in 3 different colors: gold, space gray, and silver. So what are my overall thoughts? Well, for $12.99 you're paying for a very expensive laptop that doesn't have the best internals for that price. And yeah, you're getting a really nice design and a very good screen and all, but just for the performance alone, I wouldn't pay nearly as much money. I think Apple is targeting an audience that is looking for the overall best browsing experience, and also someone who is looking for the best battery life. So probably someone who travels a lot, or someone who is a student that has a lot of resources. That might be the target audience for the new MacBook. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, I will see you on the next one.